Hey guys, so today we are doing a cook with me video. We are making vegan jackfruit stew. And actually, this is my first time for a lot of things. My first time using the Caraway pot. This is their saute pan as well as their saucepan in the back. We're gonna be trying this out. If you guys haven't checked out my unboxing first impressions video, I'll link it down below and it'll be above the video on the eye, so you can also click there to go view it. But in the meantime, let's talk about what we're cooking today. Now, the vegan jackfruit stew, like I said, it's my first time even making jackfruit. So we're gonna be using young jackfruit in the can. I'm not a huge fan of canned foods, but this was the only version I could find. So we're gonna go with it. And we're gonna be making that with some millet as well as some roasted asparagus. So this is a really great recipe for like a vata, grounding in between winter and spring. Also very good for kapha dosha. Now, only when you are in balance. If you're out of balance with kapha dosha, it might be a little bit too grounding, especially as we're moving from kapha season into spring. You might want to watch out if you have some mucus and some heaviness and lethargy going on in your system still. However, for vata, super grounding. Pittas, a little bit too much tomato going on, so that's a little bit more fiery than you want. But, you know, if you're in balance, feel free to grab it, try it, see how you feel, make sure there's no acid. So let's get right into the video and start preparing all of our ingredients. So we're gonna go ahead and start prepping our veggies. Let's go ahead and chop our onion into half and then into a quarter and remove the skin. All right, so let's grab 3 garlic cloves. The best way to remove the skin is to just use the back of the knife, break everything apart, and then go ahead and chop everything finely. Once you're done, put the garlic to the side in the same bowl as the onions. All right, so now let's chop a tiny piece of Scotch bonnet pepper for some added flavor. And also, we're gonna add that to the same bowl with the onions and the garlic as well. Moving right down to our carrots. So we're gonna start by peeling our carrot and roughly chopping it. For stews, I really love to use fairly chunky or like large-sized vegetable pieces. It just really makes it a heartier dish for me. But feel free to chop the veggies however you like. This is your show. On to the potatoes. So let's start by peeling all 3 of the potatoes and dicing them into about medium-sized pieces. Then add them to the same bowl that your carrots are in because they'll go in at the same time. All right, so now let's grab a fresh tomato and just core the stem out and get rid of that. I like to put it in my compost bin and slice it vertically and then horizontally, just as we did with the onions. We're using fresh thyme here, so just wash it off and set it aside. Now we're gonna chop our fresh parsley. I try not to chop it too fine just because I like those big pieces of parsley. I really enjoy seeing them sprinkled on top of anything that I make, but feel free to just go with the flow here. If you wanna dice it small, do that, but I prefer to make them larger and set them aside in a small bowl. So for our asparagus, we wanna chop these hard ends off. I actually love eating asparagus because it's such a balancing vegetable for the gut and for all body types. Okay, so now it's time to prepare our jackfruit. Now go ahead and strain the water off and begin to shred the jackfruit pieces just like you would pulled pork. This may take you a few minutes, but the more shredded you can get the pieces, the easier it will be for the jackfruit to pick up the flavor of the stew. And by the way, this non-toxic, non-stick ceramic pot that I'm using to make this stew is from a company called Caraway, and it is my new favorite kitchen tool. If you're looking to improve the quality of your meals by just avoiding cookware that has harmful chemicals in them, then definitely check out the link in this recipe blog post for 10% off anything at the Caraway online store. You guys, I cannot recommend them enough. It's actually non-stick, it's actually non-toxic, and it really cooks the food evenly. Start by adding 2 tablespoons of olive or sesame oil to your pan and let that heat up for about a minute or so, and add your bay leaf as well as the tricketu, the cumin powder, the chili powder, your smoked paprika, your onion powder, and just mix everything together really well. This process is called burning the spices. Now, you're not physically burning it. You definitely don't want the spices to burn through. You just want to invigorate them enough in the oil that everything becomes aromatic. You'll find that I do a lot of burning of spices here on this channel, and that's simply just to awaken the spices so that we can really experience the flavor of it and the benefits of the spices in every single dish. All right, so now add your bouillon cube and your onions, your diced garlic, as well as your Scotch bonnet peppers, which are all in that nice little bowl that we prepped earlier. All the measurements for this recipe will be in the blog post that is linked in the description box below, so be sure to check that out. All right, so now add in your potatoes and your carrots and coat everything with the spices. Now let's add our tapioca starch for thickening and your diced tomatoes. Saute for a little while and then add your tomato paste. So now it's time to add our water. So if you have hot water from a kettle, that is ideal. But if you don't, no worries. We can use room temperature water like I'm using. Just make sure it's filtered water. Mix everything together and then add your shredded jackfruit to the saucepan. Okay, time for some herbs. Add your fresh thyme and just cover the pot and let it simmer for about 20 minutes. Okay, so for the millet, we're going to start by adding some coconut oil to the pan and letting it heat up. Go ahead and add your bay leaf and your cinnamon stick and allow the spices to become fragrant for just a short while. Now go ahead and add your soaked and washed millet to the pan, your water, and your sea salt. Now add some diced green onions, mix it well, and cover the pot. It's going to take about 20 to 25 minutes to cook, so feel free to add more water when it's almost done cooking if you find that it's a little too dry, which I actually did have to do as well. All right, so let's check on this stew. So it's definitely reduced a lot and it's looking very hearty, very delicious, smelling really good, but it can certainly take some more simmering. So let's add our Italian seasoning, some fresh parsley, and then let's taste it. So here is where we're gonna add our sea salt and agave or any other preferred sweetener that you have. The sweetener just helps to balance out the acidity levels coming from the tomato paste and from the fresh tomato that's in the stew. Now just cover it and let it simmer for about 10 to 15 more minutes. Now on to the asparagus. This is probably the easiest part of this dish. All you have to do is add your asparagus to a parchment-lined baking sheet, sprinkle some diced garlic, and then sprinkle on some sea salt and some black pepper to taste. Toss everything together with olive oil and then bake it at 400 degrees for about 6 minutes, and then turn your broiler on high for about 3 minutes to crisp all those asparagus out really nicely. Let's do one last check on the stew. It's been cooking for about 35 minutes total so far, and I'm pretty sure it's ready. Looks fully thickened and it's cooked through really well. So let's just turn off the fire and plate it up for the final taste test. Let's check out how this is tasting, you guys, because like I said, this was my first time trying out jackfruit in this capacity. One more try. So first impressions, I actually do like it. Now, I don't love it as much as I would have hoped to. I have had jackfruit before and it was a little bit sour, but I didn't prepare it. I like how this jackfruit really took on the flavor of what I made. Overall, it's very tender, so the texture is really good. Now, if you're used to eating like pulled pork and meat, it's gonna be a lot softer than meat, but the texture itself is not bad if you're used to eating plant-based foods. So far, it feels really easy to digest. It's actually strength building. It's a very building food. So if you do have issues with like malnutrition or you've cleansed and now you're in that rejuvenation process where you're starting to build back your diet, putting more foods, this is a really great option for you to just kind of like build that vitality. Make sure you check out the link below. That'll have all my spice recommendations as well as the amounts, in addition to what I wish I added. while I cook this. So you can make it and hopefully it'll come out perfect for you. The asparagus pairs perfectly. Definitely try it in this capacity. Plantain is always good. You can never go wrong with adding a couple pieces of plantain with your dish, as long as you don't have any kapha issues right now. So for my kapha individuals, skip the plantain, especially if it's fried. Way too mucus driving, way too heavy of a food. Otherwise, absolutely delicious. Make sure you guys try this recipe. Let me know how you like it. Comment and subscribe to this channel for more recipes, and I'll see you guys on my next one. Bye.